In this second video, I'm going to take a circle and again have it move, but this time when it moves and hits the bottom part of the file, I'm going to have it distort as if it was a rubber ball and then continue its movement. So in order to do this with the frame animation, which I have up here in the timeline, I need to create the movement, so I'm going to add frames for movement. I'm going to add fewer this time just so that I can do this video a little more quickly. I'm going to bring frames for movement, and I'm going to come down here, and when it hits, I'll go right one more. When it hits the bottom here, I'm going to have it squish down. So it looks like I accidentally moved a couple frames around, which is good. I can go back in and show you the frame by frame movement by clicking on the frames. And you can see I accidentally went the wrong direction with that, so I'm going to bring that over here instead. And you can see it as well on the timeline menu, what the movement's going to be like. So when it gets here, I'm going to actually have it squish. So I can transform this, but it's going to alter the layer, which means it's going to alter all the layers before it. So instead of doing that, I'm going to duplicate the layer. And on this one, I'm going to bring the shape down the way I want it to and make this layer invisible. So you'll see I have created a sort of squishing movement here. The problem is I have altered my frames while I've been doing this. So I just want to go back and select all the frames and that I do not want that squished ball to be visible in and make it invisible there. So you can see it's correct on the timeline. It goes just for these layers and then it squishes down. And then for the next frame, I can make that invisible, bring this one back, and move it into this position. So it's really easy to see in the timeline, and if it's not easy to see, you can always change the panel options to make it larger so you can see it. But this should give you a good sense of the movement that I'm going for. Next frame, up, and then continue off. So only that one frame kind of squished. So I'm going to go through the a little bit more effective. Now it's moving in a way that's sort of slow and jerky, but I think it's because I'm uploading another file right now. But I can also change the timing on it to change the speed. So I've selected all of them and then changed the delay. So this is what it will look like after that. It still has a little bit of jerky movement. So that would be transforming the shape in the frame animation, and now I'm going to do a version of that in the video animation. So I'm going to select these frames and delete them, and I'm going to leave this one here. I'll start over. I'm going to get rid of this other layer, and then I'm going to go over to a video animation, which again I selected this option in the lower left to switch between frame and video. And in this layer, I'm going to flip this open, and you can see that I can change position, but how can I change the shape? So the trick here is to turn this layer into a smart object. So I'm going to convert it to a smart object. You'll see the little symbol in the lower right-hand corner there. Now that I've done that, it's no longer a position option, but it's a transform option. So transform can mean move, but it can also mean rescale or distort or whatever. So let's go through that really quickly here. I'm going to start out with transform here. I'm going to halfway down, bring it here, and I'm going to resize it so it's squished. And then I'm going to go to the end of the animation, which I made kind of long. I didn't put that halfway. I'm going to move this over to the halfway point. So then I'm going to go back to the beginning with a round circle. So I've basically just created movement and distortion. So that's what this is going to look like. Now, if I don't like the way it's starting to shift while it's moving, I can add other keyframes in here so that I can say, you know what, here it's actually still meant to be, sorry, it's meant to be round still. So you'll see it'll go from round and then quickly into the squishing. So technically we wouldn't really even want it to squish until it hit. So I'm going to bring this here back into a round shape, and then I'm going to move it just a hair. So a little tweaking here. I'm going to move it into a round shape here. I'm going to move this just a hair, bring this down, squish the shape, and then bring it up and unsquish the shape. So this should just give you the principles and not have you worry too much about doing it perfectly until you figure out the mechanics. You can see that is much smoother. And if you want to change something, you can just go to the keyframe and highlight it and then make the change. So that's now going to, accidentally did that. So it's now going to go right off the frame like I had wanted it to. So I'll play this again. Pretty simple, and I'm going to stop the video here so that I can do another video with some more advanced options. But that gives you two ways of distorting during movement.